Amen. Let's turn to the Word of God, please, to Psalm number 26, please. We're turning to the book of Psalms. It's from Psalm 26 where the Lord wants to speak to us this morning. Psalm number 26, and we're commencing, please, to read from verse 1. Psalm 26 and verse 1. The psalmist says, "Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity. I have trusted also in the Lord, therefore I shall not slide. Examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Try my reins and my heart. For thy loving kindness is before mine eyes, and I have walked in thy truth. I have not sat with vain persons, neither will I go in with dissemblers. I have hated the congregation of evildoers, and will not sit with the wicked. I will wash mine hands in innocency. So will I compass thine altar, O Lord, that I may publish with the voice of thanksgiving, and tell of all thy wondrous works. Lord, I have loved the habitation of thy house, and the place where thine honour dwelleth. Gather not my soul with sinners, nor my life with bloody men, in whose hands is mischief, and their right hand is full of bribes. But as for me, I will walk in mine integrity. Redeem me, and be merciful unto me. My foot standeth in an even place. In the congregations will I bless the Lord." And we know that the Lord, as always, will bless that reading of his own precious truth. From the very moment the psalmist puts pen to paper, the psalmist does something wonderful. When the psalmist begins to put pen to paper, to pen the 26th psalm, the psalmist allows us to see into the secret chambers of his heart. As he continues to write the psalm, not only does the psalmist allow us to see into the secret chambers of his heart, but he also takes us into the secret chambers of his heart. And when we read down through Psalm 26 this morning, and as the psalmist takes us down into the deep secret chambers of his heart, we find there many sacred secrets that he has hidden in there. Psalm 26 exposes to us this morning many of the sacred secrets that lie hidden within the secret chambers of his heart. Those sacred secrets are there for a good reason. And the reason why the psalmist in Psalm 26 allows us to see these sacred secrets that lie deep within his secret chambers of his heart is for the sole purpose in staying close to God. In Psalm 26 this morning, the psalmist lays down 8 secret secrets that he possesses in order for him to stay close to God. Now, don't panic. I'm going to take this message over 2 Lord's Days. I'm not going to cover the 8 this morning. It may take 3. You know, child of God, listen to me. Being close to God is precious. Being close to God is precious. But staying close to God is the problem. Being close to God is precious. But I find for one this morning, staying close to God, now that's the problem. It's staying there. Staying close to God. Let me just ask you a question before we go any further. Child of God, how close to God are you this morning? Let's be honest. How close are we to God, brother? How close are you to God, sister? Listen, all of us this morning, how close are we really to God? Staying close to God is the title that I have placed upon God's message. But listen to me this morning. Staying close to God is not a mere habit. It's not a week in, week out thing. It's not even a day in, day out thing. Listen to me. It's not even an hour thing, an hour in and an hour out thing. It's a moment by moment exercise of obedience of heart to God. George, how do I stay close to God? That's the question I have asked myself. How do I maintain my close walk with God? Well, on Monday evening when I was brought by the Lord himself to Psalm 26, Psalm 26 opened up before me, and the psalmist through the psalm allows me to see the many ways in which he had, steps that he had taken in staying close to God. Look at the very first verse of Psalm 26 this morning. Listen to what he says. He says, "Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity." You know, there we have the very first sacred secret that there is for the sole purpose in staying close with God. Listen, the psalmist didn't say it was according to the size of his Bible. He didn't say it was according to the version of his Bible. He didn't say it was according to the denomination in which he intended. Oh, no, no, no. The first step, child of God, the first step that the psalmist saw was necessary in staying close to God was the great importance of integrity. Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity. But this is how he saw the great importance of integrity. He walked in his integrity, but it was all in the light of the fear of God. You know something, child of God? Listen to me. Do you see, if we don't get this step right, we'll fail in the rest of them. If you and I don't get this first step right, we will fail to stand on the rest of them. The importance of integrity. Because listen, child of God, if we fail here, we'll fail everywhere else in staying close to God. If one this morning fails to walk in integrity, you take it from me, child of God, you're not close to God in the first place. Honesty, sincerity, faithfulness, innocency, all these things, child of God, are wrapped up in this one word. It's the word integrity. Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity. Child of God, listen. In staying close to God, now I'm talking about not getting close to God, staying close to God. We must take this morning this step, the great importance of integrity. What is integrity? Integrity is when our mind and when our hearts and when our lives are free from dishonesty and deception. When our minds, our hearts, our lives, our actions are free from dishonesty and deception. Now let me ask you the question this morning, child of God, as God has asked me the question: are you close to God on this step? What does Proverbs 19 verse 1 say? Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Staying close to God, child of God, begins here. This is where the psalmist saw it. And this is how the psalmist achieved it. In staying close to God, he made the great importance of integrity his first step. On Thursday evening, we'll meet a character called Daniel. And we'll see Daniel walking in integrity when he refuses to compromise his conviction. You see, in Daniel we'll find 3 Hebrew princes who walked in their integrity, who failed to compromise their convictions, even though it meant death. In David, in 1 Samuel 26, when they came to Saul, as Saul lay sleeping on the ground, Abishai says, "Let us now smite him to the earth." "No," David said, "No, no, no, no. I walk in mine integrity. No, no. For who can stretch forth his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless?" Too many of God's people today, too many of the Lord's redeemed, and they're compromising their convictions. Integrity this morning is putting into actions my heart's values into my daily living. Integrity is not compromising our convictions at any cost. Listen, brother, when it comes to the tax man, I hope you're walking in integrity. Oh, there's grounds, dear child of God, in which integrity is tested. How close are we to God this morning? Are we honest in all our dealings? Let's be honest. Is your dealings with men and others in an honest keel? Do you know something, child of God? Now just take a moment and think of this. The great importance of our integrity is what Satan seeks to destroy. Do you remember what happened in Job chapter 1? He attacked his family. He attacked his flocks. He attacked his friends. He attacked his farm. And God could say this to Satan in Job chapter 2 and verse 3, "Still he holdeth fast" what? His integrity. Job 25 and chapter 27 verse 5 says, "I will not remove mine integrity from me." Brother Dennis Lyle and Kenny and Ian Wilson and myself headed away one Monday afternoon just for a day's fellowship together. we went to a place for somewhere to eat. And the gentleman gave us a tour around the place where we visited. He brought us into a library which is called the Gordon Wilson Library. And this is in Enniskillen. Above the fireplace hangs the portrait of one man who shown integrity as it really was. Right away when I looked upon that photograph, my mind went back to that awful day in November 1987, when Gordon Wilson lay under the rubble, holding his daughter Mary's hand as she was dying after the IRA bomb. Daddy, I love you so much, was her last words. As I looked upon that portrait, my mind went back to that Lord's Day evening when Gordon Wilson came onto our television screens for the very first time. Gordon Wilson, that Lord's Day evening, spoke these words: I hold no bitter grudge. I prayed for the bombers who killed my daughter. You see, Gordon Wilson, I believe, was a man who was close to God. Gordon Wilson was a man who knew something of being in that close communion with God. Somebody wronged you, child of God, done something harsh, said something hard. You remember this morning, child of God. When they reviled him, he reviled not. And even when they crucified him to the cross, he prayed, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. The great importance of integrity is what's needed to take place first in staying close to God. Listen, the child of God this morning, there's too many boys carrying big Bibles, no money around the country like nobody's business. I know one man in particular, I'm not going to mention the church, he's an office bearer nowhere near here, and he owes 60,000 to a fella, and he carries a Bible the biggest a suitcase. Listen, I'm going to tell you what of such this morning. Of such, that is not integrity. Of such, that is hypocrisy. Are you standing on the step of great integrity, importance of integrity? Am I? But look at the second step, verse 1 again. Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity. I have trusted also in the Lord. Therefore shall I not slide. And here's the second sacred secret that lies within the psalmist's heart in order for him to stay close to God. Yes, we have the great importance of integrity, but here we have the great testimony of trust. Listen to what he says. He says, I have trusted also in the Lord. Here's the testimony of it. Therefore I shall not slide. Oh, child of God, listen, we need to be able to stand on this step in order to stay close to God. You ever find, child of God, listen, I'm only talking to you from experience. You ever find life? Do you ever find staying close to God is like climbing up a hill of ice? You take one step forward and you're sliding back, and it just seems that we're going backwards rather than forward. I know I do. And during those times you find it even hard to pray. In fact, there's times you find you can't pray. Well, sometimes the hill that we can climb or must climb may be the hill of disappointment. It may be the hill of despair. And before long, child of God, we find ourselves slipping and sliding away from God. And it's all because this morning we're not standing on this testimony of trust this morning. You know what's wrong with us? You know what's wrong with us all, child of God? And I'm talking about myself more than anybody else. Too many times we've got on the boots of doubt and despair, and we've no grip at all. No, the psalmist this morning here, he possesses this fearful and this faithful trust in God in spite of what goes on around him. In spite of what goes on around him. David's trust is not just a mere trust. It's believing God and trusting God with the whole of life, no matter what the circumstances is. Do you think, child of God, do you and I do that? I have trusted in the Lord, he says, also in the Lord. Therefore, I shall not slide. You see, in other words, child of God, we must stand in this step as far as staying close to God is concerned. We cannot stay close to God if we fail to stand on this step. Therefore I shall not slide. What does Psalm 121 verse 3 say? He shall not suffer thy foot to be moved. Blondin was a 19th century acrobat, famous for his tightrope act in walking 160 feet above the Niagara Falls on a rope of 1,000 feet long. In 1860, a royal party from Britain saw Blondin across the tightrope on stilts. And halfway across, he stopped. He took out something out of his pocket, he ate it, and walked across the tightrope to the far end. Here he was a good one. I find it hard enough walking across this platform. But then what did Blondin do? He got to the far side and he got a wheelbarrow. And with the wheelbarrow, and in the wheelbarrow, there was a sack of potatoes. And he wheeled the sack of potatoes right across the tightrope as if he was walking on the footpath. And he came over to who was then the Duke of Newcastle, and he said to the Duke of Newcastle, well, do you think I could carry a man across this tightrope in a wheelbarrow? The Duke of Newcastle says, no problem, without a shadow of a doubt. Blondin says, hop in, I'll take you across. The Duke declined. Why did I tell that story? That's a true story, but why did I tell it? Because we are like the Duke of Newcastle. We can stand on the ground of believing God, but there's times we cannot stand on the ground of trusting God. That's the problem. You see, it's one thing believing, child of God, but it's another thing trusting God. Proverbs 16:20, whoso trusteth in the Lord, happy is he. When you trust the Lord, and when you find yourself where you can trust the Lord even when the world comes tumbling down around you, friend, when you find yourself trusting the Lord then you're on the step that the psalmist took. I will trust, I have trusted also in the Lord, therefore I shall not slide no matter what happens in life. Psalm 112 verse 7 says, he shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in God. How can you and I, child of God, stay close to God if we fail to trust him? How can you and I, child of God, even think that we can stay close to God this morning if we fail to stand on the great importance of integrity. How can you and I this morning, child of God, say that we can stay close to God without standing on the step this morning of the testimony of trusting the Lord? This is all part this morning, part and parcel in staying close to God. It's not just believing God, it's trusting God. What did Job say? Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Now that's the great testimony of trust, isn't it? Of course it is. You see, the psalmist saw the great importance of integrity. He possessed the testimony of trust, but I'm going to finish with the third one. In order for the psalmist to stay close to God, he saw the great extent of examination. Now, listen to me. This is the big one. Look at verse 2. Examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Try my reins and my heart. Do you see the great extent of examination in this verse? It's a great one. Examine me, O Lord. Prove me. The psalmist sees, in order to stay close to God, the vital exercise of constant examination by the Lord. Child of God, listen. Be careful what you pray for. Do you hear that? Just be careful what you pray for. And make sure you're serious in what you ask. It's very solemn ground. Very solemn ground. When you stand on the step and you say to the Lord, Lord, you prove me. And you try me. And it's very solemn because, listen to me, the Lord may just take you at your word. You want me to prove you? I'll prove you. You want me to try you? I'll try you. But listen to me. Sometimes this morning, when the Lord tries us, and when the Lord proves us, listen to me, it can be very painful. But it'll always be beneficial. Beneficial as it will be, but you remember this, it will be painful. Do you remember how he tested Abraham? God wanted to know what was really in Abraham's heart, but it wasn't that God really wanted to know what was in Abraham's heart. God wanted Abraham to know what was in Abraham's heart. Abraham, I'm going to put you to the test here, and I'm going to prove to you what's really inside your heart. You don't know what's there, but I know what's there, and I'm going to prove you. And I'm going to try you. Now, this is what I want you to listen to me, Abraham. Now, listen to me. Take thy son, thine only son, and offer him as a sacrifice. unto me. You see, child of God, listen to me. It's a major, 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 major thing in staying close to God. We all know this morning that the times of testings do come. They come to George McConnell just as quick and as severe to anybody else. They come to me as well as you. Believe you me, they come. But it's always through the time of sifting, and it's through the time of shaking, where the granules of sin and carnality and all the rest of it are purged away. But this was the secret that was hidden this morning within the psalmist's heart in order to stay close to God. The importance of integrity. Number one. The testimony of trust was number two. The extent of examination was number three. What does he say? In Psalm 139, 23 and 24, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me. Oh, friend, it's precious. It's precious to be close to God. But it's staying close to God is the problem. And in staying close to God, there are great steps that we all must take in our staying close to God. May we have a heart this morning that wants to draw nearer to Him.